From these mountains and from this snow, from places we all call home, Idaho has been sending its best to the world's biggest stage for nearly a century. Right here, Idaho viewers have had a front row seat watching history unfold, Olympic Games after Olympic Games. It began in Sun Valley with a young woman who changed everything. Gretchen Fraser, Idaho's first Olympic gold medalist, a trailblazer who proved greatness could rise from these mountains. She didn't finish the story, she started it. From Idaho snow came fearless speed, Peekaboo Street, Kristen Cooper, gold and silver medal athletes who raced the world with Idaho watching every turn. From resilience came inspiration. Muffy Davis showing us that strength isn't defined by limits, but by heart. From the air came speed and fearless flight. Jarrett Speedy Peterson, Olympic silver, and an indelible mark on the spirit of the games. From McCall through snow, solitude, and endurance, Lyle Nelson, 4 Olympic Games, and the honor of carrying our nation's flag into the opening ceremony. From a ranch in tiny Bellevue, Idaho, Caitlin Farrington, gold in Sochi, a moment Idaho will never forget. And from Sun Valley comes a legacy still being written. Hillary Knight, 5 Olympic Games, more than any hockey player in Olympic history. Gold medalist, leadership, and Idaho pride on the ice. This is more than competition, more than medals. This is Idaho, written in snow, shared with the world, and brought home for you on KTVB. Idaho Olympic Legends, a Channel 7 special, starts right now.
Hi, everybody, and welcome into the Winter Games of 2026 here on Idaho's News Channel 7. I'm Jordan Smith, joined by 5-time Olympic anchor, the legend, Mark Johnson, in the house.
Please. Coming up in the next half hour, we're going to take a look back at the Idaho athletes who have made their mark at the Games, and also to those competing in the next 2 weeks. Jay Tust and Tom Scott will join us for their perspective on what is way much more than just a sporting event.
Absolutely. And first, Team Idaho has made the trip to Milan Cortina, and not far from the Torino Games that you covered back in 2006, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And our team loaded with medal hopefuls.
And that includes Haley's Chase Josie. This is his 3rd Olympic Games. In 2018 and 22, he made it to the finals of the snowboard halfpipe, finished just off the podium both times.
Then there's Jalen Koff, who has roots in the Teton Valley. He's going for gold this time around. She won silver in 2022.
And then there's Breezy Johnson, no relation, making an Olympic comeback. She competed in the 2018 Games, missed out on the 2022 Games, competing in the downhill and the Super G on opening weekend of the Games.
And then there's our rookies. These 2 guys, both from Sun Valley, trained at the Sun Valley Ski Education Foundation. Ryder Sarchett is already a junior world champion in the giant slalom, and she helped the University of Colorado at Boulder, where he helped the Buffs win a national championship.
And then there's John Steele Hagenut, currently a senior at Dartmouth, also a junior world champ, as well as an NCAA individual champion. And there's 2 members of Team Idaho that we have not mentioned yet. So let's bring in former KTVB sports director Jay Tust to talk about one of the biggest names in the game, someone who we've had the fortunate opportunity to cover in her last 4 Olympic Games, talking about Sun Valley's Hillary Knight.
Well, first things first, Mark, think about how many special moments the Sun Valley community has provided us during the Winter Olympics, right? I'm going to go back to my favorite story in 2016. Shanti Asalai, a photojournalist, and I traveled down to Park City, Utah to cover the U.S. Olympic Media Summit. We were there to cover somebody with a little more national notoriety that had a small hook to the state of Idaho, right? Well, when we were there, our focus quickly shifted and pivoted to a young athlete named Caitlin Farrington.
Right.
And while we were there, we discovered that her parents let her skip school on Bluebird days, and they funded her snowboarding career by selling cows. And so we leaned into that story, knowing she was a long shot to just make the Olympic team. 3 months later, she had an Olympic gold around her neck after her final run resulted in her standing on top of the podium. It's just one of those moments I won't forget. And you bring up Hillary Knight, also from Sun Valley. This is the face of U.S. women's hockey, Mark. She has been to and won 10 World Cup gold medals, right? That is the most of any American, male or female. She's been to 5 Olympics now. She's won 1 gold. And she's looking to cap her career with a 2nd gold medal. And the thing I love about her is her competitive spirit. And we feel that more than ever in those gold medal championship games that so often pit Team Canada and Team USA. And you want to talk about a fiery rivalry?
Yeah.
That's as fiery as it gets, Mark.
And last week named the captain of the U.S. Olympic women's hockey team. Doesn't get bigger than that.
We have covered her for so long. We once witnessed her as the youngest member of the U.S. women's hockey team. Now she is the oldest member of the U.S. women's hockey team. And obviously, we think it's her last Olympics, but, you know, you never know, right? And she has just meant so much, though. She is the absolute GOAT of U.S. women's hockey.
No question, no question. Circle Tuesday, February 10th on your calendar, a rematch of the 2022 gold medal game, the U.S. against Canada. All right. From the veteran of the games to the rookie, Boise's Sammy Smith, a superstar soccer player for the Brave, and now a standout for the NCAA runners-up, Stanford, and looking to become Idaho's first ever Winter and Summer Olympian.
I mean, hold on. Just think about that for a moment. That is how talented Sammy Smith is. She is a 4-time Idaho Gatorade Player of the Year. As Mark mentioned, she is now playing soccer at Stanford. She was a sophomore on a Cardinal team which was the national runner-up this past year, right? And then, about a month later, she goes off and qualifies for her first ever Winter Olympics. But she does have the big goal of not only qualifying for the Winter, but the Summer Olympics. She is a hyper-competitive athlete that just loves the process, Mark.
Comes from a long line of athletes right here in Boise.
And the cool thing about her story, Mark, we love to build up Team Idaho, and we will go to great lengths in order to do that. But sometimes we stumble upon an athlete that was raised right in our backyard, and this is as Team Idaho as it possibly gets. And you know what? Sammy loves the support she's received from her community over the years. Take a listen.
Yeah, I mean, the Sun Valley Community School is pretty incredible school for developing skiers. And I was also very fortunate to have to be able to go to, North Junior High and Boise High as well. And the teachers and staff there were pretty incredible and accommodating with my schedule too, because obviously in a public school setting, it's a little bit different. But yeah, I honestly was so fortunate to have the teachers I had and to have the support of Boise High and Sun Valley Community School, because certainly would not have been possible without them.
She's so amazing. Her teammates said on the soccer pitch, I can't believe how much stamina she has. Well, that's because after the soccer season, she'd go straight to the skiing circuit.
Yeah, and now she's going to represent the U.S. cross-country ski team. And it is just so cool to see her career really start to take off. We knew she was destined for greatness long ago here, Mark, with what she was doing over at Boise High. Well, now her and greatness are walking hand in hand into the future, and this is just the absolute beginning. She is 20 years old. Sammy Smith is a name that we're going to be talking about for quite some time here.
All right, Jay, don't go anywhere. More perspective from Jay coming straight ahead. But in the meantime, in the last 4 of the 5 Olympic Games that I got a chance to cover, I was accompanied by photographer, engineer, producer, writer, confidant, mentor, and good friend, Chauncey Alsalai, who joins me now. Together, we covered those 4 Olympic Games. They were 28-day assignments each, 16 to 18 hours. But those were days we will both never forget as I put on my credentials.
Well, you can see mine around my neck. For a journalist, these are basically my gold medals.
Yeah.
And at any one of the Olympics that I covered, we have Athens, we have Torino, we have Vancouver on my neck. These were the most important thing I had every single day to get into the different venues that I could get into with you to go cover the old Idaho athletes that we needed to.
And not only to cover those athletes, but also become close to them, embedded in Media Village, Athletic Village, on our live shot locations, going back and forth. Logistically, without these, you couldn't do anything.
You couldn't do anything. You had to have one of these to be in the places, to have the access to talk to the people.
Yeah.
That you needed to get to.
What stands out in your mind covering those 4 Olympic Games as kind of the thing that you tell people this is what it's all about?
I have 1,000 stories, but I will say the one thing I'm most proud about when we went and covered all these Olympic games was the way.
Even when you were sick.
I was sick right there. You were editing tape to tape for me because I was so sick with a sinus infection. But that's what we did. We didn't have any backup, so we had to keep working through it. But I think the thing I'm most proud about is we found every local athlete that was going to go, and we found some that they didn't even know they were Idaho athletes till we got to them. The shot putter in Athens who had trained just for a little bit up at U of I, we were all over him the entire way through, and we brought his stories to Idaho. We followed, obviously, the big ones like Hillary Knight. We followed Speedy Peterson, but then Angela White.
Rulon Gardner.
Which was one of my favorites. All those different athletes that had kind of ties to Idaho, and we brought that all here. And we ended up really liking their stories and liking them, and I was really proud of the way we handled that.
Well, I was proud to have you as my teammate because knowing Peekaboo, knowing how she was so pulled by NBC and by the networks, but when she would see you and me together, she'd say, fellas, where do you need me and when?
Yeah. Well, we talked with them in the 6 months leading up to it. We were already planning for sending all of our gear there, but we were already talking to them. We were already doing early stories with them. So when they saw us in Athens or in Torino or Vancouver or Salt Lake, they knew us and they knew we were going to tell their stories, and they welcomed us.
Yeah.
And it was great.
My favorite was you in the workspace. And all of these, we were the smallest station in that NBC workspace.
Easily.
But the big stations would come over and look over Shanti's shoulder to find out how you were doing what you were doing.
I give KTVB credit for that, because we were always, from the time I learned how to edit, we were always on computers, and so by the time we got to the big technology, we were kind of ahead of everybody. And that's another thing I'm proud of. We were the smallest station, but by the time we left, everybody kind of knew they were the ones that were going to cover the athletes the best.
Yeah. Shanti, don't go anywhere because you're part of this show just as well as everyone. But coming up in a moment, did you know this, is a 4-time Olympian who carried the flag for Team USA during the 1988 Games in Calgary. We catch up with Idaho's very own Lyle Nelson in McCall. But first, he was known for his signature move, the Hurricane, and the man from Boise who made it legendary when Idaho Olympic Legends here on Channel 7 continues. Welcome back. As we begin another Winter Olympic Games, we remember one of Idaho's greatest Olympic athletes, Jarrett "Speedy" Peterson. From humble beginnings at Bogus Basin to Olympic silver, his rise, his struggles, leaving a lasting impact on Idaho and our Olympic movement. He was fearless in the air and adored on the ground.
It's the greatest experience to do. Yeah. There's nothing like it.
From the slopes of Bogus Basin to the biggest stage in the world.
I want to say hi to everybody, Timberline, Boise, Idaho.
Jarrett Peterson, Speedy to everyone who knew him. At the 2002 Salt Lake Olympics, Speedy became an instant star. Friends, family, an entire Boise cheering section watched as he broke through in front of a home country crowd.
I landed all 4 of my jumps. I can't ask for much better than that. Being 20 years old, coming out here and jumping in the Olympics is an honor indeed.
But Olympic glory doesn't come easy. 4 years later in Torino, Italy, we watched as Speedy went for it all. His signature move, the Hurricane. 5 spins, 3 somersaults, the highest difficulty in the sport, and a near miss. he would finish 7th. 4 more years, 1 more chance. Speedy again standing at the top, staring down the jump that had beaten him before. This time, he nailed it. An Olympic silver medal.
I can't even tell you how happy I am.
A dream fulfilled.
You know, it's something I've worked on for 17 years. And to finally get an Olympic medal, especially after the last time around. You know, this is the best day of my life.
Speedy was on top of the world with a key to the city, sponsorship opportunities, and a post-Olympic career destined for greatness. 18 months later, celebration turned to heartbreak. Speedy was found dead in the foothills of Park City, Utah, the result of years battling mental illness. His death stunned not only the Olympic community, but the entire state of Idaho, and forced an important conversation about mental health. We remember Speedy not just for how high he flew, but how openly he lived, and how deeply he loved and was loved. 3 Olympics, 1 unforgettable silver medal, and a legacy far bigger than any podium. The Speedy Foundation was formed a month after his death, and it kick-started the Idaho Suicide Prevention Hotline after 10 years of dormancy in our state. If you or anyone you know is struggling with mental health issues, there are a number of resources and tools readily available. Go to the speedyfoundation.org website to find out more. And you can also reach out to the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling or texting 988. We'll be right back.
And what would the show be without a Scottsland? I'm Tom Scott, and let's take a look at the best of the best, the 5 athletes with Idaho ties who have individually topped the podium at the Winter Olympics, leading off with Sun Valley's Gretchen Fraser in 1948, winning the women's slalom just 12 years after Sun Valley opened. Then in 1984, it was Bill Johnson in the men's downhill at Sarajevo. Johnson started skiing as a Mighty Mite at Bogus Basin. Maybe the most celebrated Idaho Olympian is Peekaboo Street, who took the Super G at Nagano in 1998. And Idaho had 2 gold medalists in 2014, both in snowboarding. Sage Kotzenberg with Coeur d'Alene roots in men's slopestyle, and Sun Valley's Caitlin Farrington in the women's halfpipe. I bet you thought I forgot Hillary Knight. Well, she's the one who earned a team gold medal, and that takes us to Scottsland trivia. What were the host cities of Hillary Knight's 4 previous Winter Olympics, 2010, 2014, 2018, and 2022? And what medals did she win in each? The answer is coming up after the next break, but first, Jordan Smith has some more history for us.
All right. Tom, thank you for that. It is remarkable to think how many star-studded athletes Idaho has produced through the years, representing the Gem State on the global stage. Prior to Hillary Knight, there was another Idaho regular representing the Stars and Stripes at the Winter Olympics, a 4-time Olympian from McCall, Idaho.
Nelson, a several-time biathlete, is carrying the flag at age 39.
I thought 76 still sounds youthful, so I'm trying to convince myself that 77 is not much of a change.
If you find yourself exploring the endless, sprawling ski trails in Valley County, chances are you might just bump into this guy, 4-time Olympian Lyle Nelson.
It's been 40 years since I competed in the Olympics, and yet when I still go out and ski, if there's nobody around to compare myself to, I feel pretty fast.
The McCall native has been around the block and probably every trail in his hometown. It comes with the territory of being a world-class athlete, and even today, he's still in love with the sport.
I'm really thankful that I grew up in McCall, in a town that had Olympic heroes, and a town that had a culture that launched us little kids, like right here at the ski hill. This community paved the way for me to make the Olympics.
From the first time he locked into his bindings, he set his sights on becoming an Olympian. The belief that he could was embedded in him from the community and the people he surrounded himself with. That dream fulfilled in Austria during the 1976 games.
First day I was in Europe, and I reached down and put my cross-country skis on, and I was getting ready for a World Cup race, and I thought, you know, Lyle, you've made it. You've thought a long time about doing this, and here you are. And that memory still sticks in my mind.
This was a dream he protected and accomplished multiple times over, capping off his illustrious career with this remarkable moment at the Calgary Games.
The thing that probably means the most to me was being selected as the team captain and carrying the U.S. flag into the 1988 Olympics. And the person who carries the flag at opening ceremonies is the person that other athletes believes most represents the ideals and spirit of the Olympics. And I've tried to live up to that my entire life.
Winning races is no longer the goal, though he'd still probably give you your money's worth.
You know, to compare the Olympians of my age to the speed that the cross-country skiers and biathletes go today, we'd look like a tourist on a tour compared to them. They ski faster for 12 miles than I could have gone for 400 yards.
Representing his hometown and bringing the Olympic spirit to kids on the ski hill he grew up on, that's his new purpose.
It's just calming in a way and inspiring at the same time to think, here's all the nations coming together under peaceful purposes and with respect and regard for all. And it just makes you believe in the world more. And the Olympics is far, far more than incredible performance and which nation wins the most amount of medals. It's much deeper than that.
And you talk about a guy that embodies the Olympic spirit. And my favorite part about Lyle is he just hangs out in McCall. You could bump into him just by accident up there.
I saw him a couple of weeks ago, and he is the most humble person
Absolutely.
that you would ever not realize was a superstar athlete at the Olympics.
Yeah, representing Idaho on the world's biggest stage. It's so cool in our own backyard.
Yeah, I'm glad you caught up with him, Jordan.
Absolutely.
Much more to come, at least something that I think you should see when we come back.
Welcome back to the show, and here is your answer to Scottsland Trivia. Aficionados no doubt got this. Hillary Knight's previous Olympiads, Vancouver in 2010, Sochi in 2014, Pyongyang in 2018, and Beijing in 2022. She won 3 silvers and got the gold in 2018. And I think the most amazing thing about Hillary is not only that she's the oldest player on the U.S. women's Olympic hockey team, but she is the captain.
She is the captain. Now, when we started producing this show, and I want to thank Danny Alsop for helping this, and all of the editors and producers that went into making this show, I said Tom had to put on his luge unitard, and he refused. But through the magic of graphics, we were able to get Tom in his unitard going down the luge run. And you can see the look of horror on Tom's face right there. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome, everybody.
I think he looks rather comfortable there.
Yes, he does. As we wrap things up, what are you looking forward to most when it comes to Idahoans and Idaho watching the Olympics?
Well, my daughter's, Alaya, is 9 years old now, and she's just got into swim team, so she's into team sports, and I really want to get her into the Olympics, specifically Sammy Smith, because she went to North High, Boise High. That's where my daughter's going to go to school.
Right.
I want to tell that story to her.
Yeah, you're going to be able to see it right here and on Peacock, every single event. Quickly, what would you say?
I would say Sammy Smith. I want to just piggyback off that. It's cool
Okay.
having somebody in our own backyard who's just represented Idaho so well, and to be on that global stage. I think that's super exciting.
Yeah.
I like filling out my calendar so I know each and every night when a member of Team Idaho is competing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's waking up early, sometimes it's staying up late. I'll do either.
And I'll go with Sammy Smith because we followed her high school career in multiple sports, and it's exciting to watch.
I cannot wait to see Hillary Knight go out with another gold medal. 36 years old, she says this is her last one. She'll be 40 at the next Olympics. We'll see. Well, obviously, we're going to be here covering Team Idaho and all the Olympic stories every single night on the news at 4, 6, and 10. And you can also join Brian Holmes and 3-time Olympic Golden Girl Kristen Armstrong every night for the Ozone, happening Monday through Saturday right here at 6:30. Let's go, Team Idaho. USA. 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 Idaho. USA. Idaho. Peterson, who proved today he
and ends Torino games. And though she says her talk about a weekend to remember for Boise's Jared Peterson, his friends and have to do the three.